Hello everyone. Sorry here. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my January 2022 Spellbinders kit. I did not make it for Valentine's Day, but that is okay. I'm only one day off, and well, it'll probably be two by the time I get this updated, but we'll see. Anyways, we'll start with card number one. And I took the heart-shaped pattern paper. I absolutely love that one. It has this really simple design, which is just white paper with the hearts on it. And I decided, let's get the balls rolling with some nice Valentine cards, or card, I should say. And so that's why I picked the one with the hearts on it. I'm just using up some of these gold strips. I'm not worried about the seam that you'll see in the corner there. Like when you put two pieces together, you're going to get that seam because I'm not using a solid piece. But I'm going to cover that with some ephemera or die cuts. So it's going to be okay. So that's always something to keep in consideration. That just because there's a seam doesn't mean we cannot cover it. I'm going to glue that down, and I'm just going to cover the bottom portion of the paper. In this case, I did trim down the paper to, what is that? 4 by 5 1/4. I think that's what it is. So when I cut that blue piece on the bottom, I just matched that width. I kind of like it when it's crooked. I don't know. It's just something I like to do. It just feels right. I don't necessarily like to keep things symmetrical or in order. That's just, I don't know. That's how I am. Now I'm just gluing down these little heart flowers I've created. I created a bunch of these in red, gold, white, and pinks off camera before I even started the kit. And I'm just having them all around my desk just to have them available in case I decide to tuck them in situations like this. I did create this example in my unboxing video. If you go to the very end, I show how to use the die cuts. And this was something I had created with adding that extra little layer of white just to give it something different than just following the simple die. Of course, another suggestion, which would be a little bit difficult, is to ink around the outside of the flowers. That would be challenging because they are rather flimsy, but it would look a little different. I usually ink the outsides to separate the different layers so you can really see the difference. Okay, so it's coming along. I just picked the two sentiments, you and me, and then that one in gold that says "so happy." And then I'm using my sparkle pen just to fill in some of these hearts with some nice sparkle. The last thing I'm going to do with this card is grab my hole punch, my gold hole punches. No, how's that? How would I say that? It's the punched out holes. No, that doesn't make any sense either. The circles. The circles that I created with a hole punch. There we go. When I have gold scraps, I always take my hole punches in two sizes and I just cut a bunch of them until I can't make any more, and then I toss the scraps. This way I can add them whenever I feel like it, like this example here. I absolutely love doing this. Sometimes I'll do it with the coordinating cardstock. It just creates a nice embellishment without adding too much. Circles are never that obtrusive or never that obnoxious. So I like that, and it kind of adds. And because they're flat, they don't create too much. Okay, card number 2, I am going to try to create a shaker card. These are usually hit and miss. Sometimes I don't succeed, but it's always a learning experience. I think this one turned out pretty well. We're definitely not starting off well. It looks like my paper is just not wanting to align properly with me, and the reason is because there is such a small, probably like a 1/16 of an inch gap that I'm trying to make straight as much as possible. And then I'm going to put this pattern paper down to cover the pink layer and leave probably about 1/8 of an inch around. And that's that's going to tie in with what I'm going to put into the center of my shaker. I'll give a little hint. Actually, you can kind of see the hint. You realize one's peeking out on the desk on the camera there. These little strips I actually got from Simon Says card kit. Not sure which month, but they came in these very thin strips and they work really well with creating shakers. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were actually meant for. So I'm just curving it around, working in the center of this wreath. Now, this die cut actually does not have a hole in it. I used a circle hole punch, not hole punch, a circle die to cut out the center. And then I used my scissors to cut the rest of it so it went around the flowers. So that's how I created that. And then I also cut another piece with a circle die, and that looks like a pink sheet with some pattern on it. And I'm going to use that as a background just for the circle. I don't need to see it anywhere else. And this is what I'm going to be putting in the center. It's just a bunch of hearts, and some of them have glossy accents on it. I did let them dry for 24 hours before I put them in here. And some of the leaves. These leaves are what I was referring to coordinate with the background, the leafy background. And then I'm taking just a few of these white sequins that came in the card kit. I definitely could have put a little bit more, in the center there. I was afraid they would all get stuck because some of those flowers are pretty thick. They're like 3 layers. But when I put it all together, I realized that I definitely could have put a little bit more in it. Just because when you lift it, they all kind of fall to the bottom and kind of get hidden. My camera does not like me shaking that card. Okay, so there were some sentiments that were on the screen. I removed them. They didn't work for me anymore. As I was creating the card while recording, sometimes that happens. I just realized things don't fit the way I like it. So then I just cut that all out of the video and just start with new pieces. In this case, I'm using the Celebrating Love. And I just had found a heart that was the same color. Because most of this card is green and pink, there's some yellow, very little blue. I decided to take a piece of scrap. This actually was the scrap from the first card. And I'm just going to add a layer to the bottom of the card just so that it's not just one big rectangle. Definitely could have left it that way. You don't need to add any more. I think it looks really nice the way it is, but sometimes I just want to add a little bit more because, right? Sometimes we just want to create a Frankenstein monster. But this is, I just do it. I don't know. Sometimes things pop in my head and I just create and I just go with it. And I just was happy with it, actually. It looked pretty nice to me. I did mat it with some pink so that it kind of looks like it's separated from the rest of the card because we already have a pink mat there. Shaky, shaky. And that concludes card number 2. For card number 3, I had a lot of fun with this one, but of course most of the ripping, or all the ripping was done off camera. Mainly because I want to know what it looks like before I start recording. I find that this really helps speed up my videos a little bit, not too much. I actually chose this pattern paper because it really, really spoke to me. It's a really beautiful, bold pattern paper, and seeing that subtle background in between just really looked sharp to me. It's like something is broken but renewed. It's really beautiful. And then so some of the extras I did rip it again just so that I have a layer because I'm going to stick some things in between the different layers. And as you can see on the left side there, you see a pile of butterflies, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm imagining that this ripped open and the butterflies are just flying out, fluttering around, just covering all these flowers. For the most part, I am going to just glue them flat, but there's a couple that I'm going to raise because I just want to give that definition, that depth, I should say. So the gold one on the top and then the pink one on the bottom I'm going to prop up. But the one on the bottom, I'm not going to use the stickers from the foam tape from Spellbinders. I'm going to use some for my stash because I want a skinnier height. I don't want it to be too high. And I find the one that comes from Spellbinders is pretty thick. I would love if they actually gave us a skinnier version. That would be kind of cool. For the sentiment, I went bold. I absolutely love, love, love black on a colorful card like this. I know I've had people tell me they don't think it works, but to each their own. I absolutely love it. Love, love, love black, bold on a colorful card. It just speaks to me. To finish off, I'm going to use some of these gold hearts. This actually are gold hearts that were left over from the die in this card kit. When you create one of them, it punches out some hearts. So I use these as some embellishments, and I think that matches pretty well. Well, speaking of which, this is the die I was referring to. You can see there were 6 hearts. In this case, I have pink ones inside there. So when I cut in gold, it would have created 6 hearts. For this card, which I just missed, is this card 4 or 5? I can't remember. I actually got some wood frame dies from a friend. I did a video not that long ago explaining it, and I absolutely loved it. So I had to, before I could even create a video, I already broke into this and used it. I just love it so much. It's really, really cool. I didn't know this thing even existed, but I'm happy that I got it because it just looks really cool. I'm going to play around with it with some inking to see if I can create some wood effect, like actually looking like wood. Anyways, with this card, I am choosing more of the pink shades, and I think this turned out really nicely with that background, which I've used for the shaker card. And then I'm going to just start tucking in all these flowers I created. Like I said, I had created these all off camera before I even started recording, even thinking about what cards I created. I just wanted to get a bunch of them just in case I needed them. And this card was definitely what used most of them up. I think it looks really fun with all those different little pieces, or different colors, sorry. Even the white ones look kind of fun, even though the white kind of blends, but I think it's kind of fun. Just gives it a different, just like a garden full of flowers. And I'm just going to tuck them all underneath, not worrying about where they land. I'm just kind of tucking it in so that there's not too much of a gap between the flowers. That's pretty much all I'm looking for. If they lap over top or they cover some of these different flowers, that's okay. That's what gardens do. You don't see everything. I think I'm going to grab one more because on the left there I see there's a big gap. So I want to fill that in. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to pick another one of these. I have so many of these off camera. You wouldn't even believe how many I created. I'm then going to cut these off. And this is about the time when I realized I made a big mistake. And I'm going to show you very shortly. And I really wish I figured this out earlier. But here we go. Backwards. I did it all backwards. Oh my goodness. I threw my hands up. I'm like, okay, walking away. I was not upset. I actually laughed about it because, of course, the one that I put most effort in is the one that I do backwards. We all do it. We all do it. So anyways, I didn't have any more paper left over. I didn't want to cut a new sheet of that particular style, so I decided to go with the plaid, which actually looks even better. So silver linings, right? Anyways, off camera, I could not rip all those hearts off. It was ripping them, so I couldn't do it. So I actually had a fussy cut every single little piece out so that I could salvage those hearts. I did not want to make any more. They take a long time to make, and I was proud of the ones I did make. So I thought it was well worth the effort to fussy cut everything off so that I could just salvage them. Oh, the things that I do. Anyways, I'm just going to glue that all back down. It's now a big cluster, and then I'm going to trim off the greens again, and then glue the bottom once again. And now we're back to square one. We're back to where we left off. But now it actually looks much better. I love that plaid in the background. I don't know why I didn't see that the first time. I am going to prop the sentiment up. It looks really nice with it propped up. It just creates that nice depth. And these colors with that gold top, it's just really beautiful. I'm really happy with this card. To finish it off, I am going to just take that die cut with the heart banner. I think it looks really cute. I know there's extra colors in there that are not in the rest of the design, but I thought it looked pretty sharp. Nice pastel colors go really well. And there we go. I love this card. For card number 5, sorry, excuse me. Card number 5, I'm playing around with this beautiful pink pattern paper with the gold dots on it. This one also caught my attention. I just never got to it until card number 6. And just love this. It's a beautiful piece, and actually would work really well with celebratory type cards. For this one, it is going to be a landscape. I don't usually make them that often, but sometimes when you make a scene card, it tends to go that way because you want more space. For this one, I'm going to play around with the little magical, fun elements, the rainbow, the balloon hearts, and then that hot air balloon. They just look all magical to me. And I love these gold banners. I mentioned it in my unboxing, but I had a hard time using them. Like, they just never wanted to fit, and I was so disheartened because I love them. They're absolutely beautiful. So I actually did try every single card to see if they would fit. But this one did. It says follow your heart, and it kind of reminded me of that expression, follow the rainbow. And what is that, Lucky Charms or something? I don't know, follow the rainbow. So follow your heart was really perfect for me, especially with those heart balloons as well. I decided to use one of the chipboard stickers, and I'm going to prop up the center of it, keeping the frame below, and that will create some more dimension, and that will tie it to be equal to the hot air balloon on the other side of the card. And that one says, always and no matter what. So follow your heart, always and no matter what. And that is sound advice. I would tell that to any single person who is willing to listen. Always, always, always follow your heart. It will never, ever lead you astray. It just may not be what you want. That's the best advice I can say. It's just how it is. We have an idea of what we want. It may not be what we need. So, but always follow your heart. To finish off, I'm going to use a bunch of these little pink and blue dots that I hole punched out, and I'm going to put some glossy accents on that. It really looks fun. It's just like a pop of bubbles, of colorful bubbles. I really like it. And I'm going to show you when it dries. I walked away and let it, there we go. So it's now morning, and there it is. It's all dry, and they just look nice and fun. But my camera does not like it, so I'm just going to keep showing you. Whenever I show you something and the camera craps, I just keep flicking it. Hopefully I'll get a good shot. Okay, so this card, I'm taking 2 of my absolute favorite pattern papers. Once again, the plaid I didn't realize was in there. I missed it, but it's one of my favorites. And I'm going to tie it with this beautiful floral. I love this paper. It's just so bold and beautiful. And as you can see, once again, I have black fonts, black sentiments I'm going to be using. It's just something that works really well for me. This die is, I think it's a lawn fawn stitch border die. It comes in 3 sizes. This is the one I tend to use the most because it's nice and subtle. It's not too flashy. And it has a nice stitch on it, which I'm trying to align with that floral background. This creates a nice, beautiful separation between the 2 different pattern papers. You can also, if you want to have something simple, you could have just done a gold strip, or if you have Love from Lizzie peel-offs or any other scrap paper, those work really well. I like Love from Lizzie Peel-Offs just because they make it much easier than trying to glue a strip of paper. When I was putting this down, as you were watching me, it just occurred to me that it would look kind of neat if I had propped them up. And I'm going to use two sizes of foam tape again. One and large one that comes in the kit, and then my own for my stash, so it's a little bit lower. And I'm going to prop it up as if the ticket was kind of lifting. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that other than visually showing you. It's sitting there, but it looks like it's going to be ready to be torn. It's just crinkled. And then I'm going to place my sentiment down, just trying to figure out where I want to place it. I plan on having the Love You propped up and the Always flat. I was a little bit worried about that Always sentiment going across that border die, just because it's not flat, it might wrinkle, but it didn't actually look too bad when I got it down. The reason I didn't add anything behind it to stabilize it was just too finicky. Although I say that even though I fussy cut all those flowers out, which was a nightmare. So I have no excuse. I just do what I do. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I try to explain my methods, but I don't really have reasons. That's just what happens. And now I'm going to take my little peachy colored heart that kind of matches the tickets. I'm going to prop that up with some foam tape and then just place some of these little hearts around the ticket as well. I just like these little hearts all over the place, and having the different colors is kind of fun as well. So you got a little bit of yellow and blue and pinks and such, even some gold. To finish off, I am going to take my last 3 hearts. If you didn't know, I'm sure you would have guessed that I was going to use them based on what I had said earlier. And this is the card that I use them on. I spent actually too much time trying to figure out where I want to place them. So that's why you see a gap between where they were and where they are, if you've noticed. I do that quite often just to save time. And there we go. That's card number 6. Card number 7. This is where I feature that really cool, ginormous tag that was in the die cut package. Normally you don't get anything this big. This one was the biggest I've seen, and I was really excited to play with it. What I was showing you right there was just something that I had dry embossed using a stencil, and I thought that was kind of cool. I'm going to use that as a background so that there's at least something there peeking in the background. I find that if you have white cardstock, sometimes it just looks too much if there's nothing there, like it's just plain white. So I've been playing around with stencils, dry embossing, just to see if that makes a difference, and I actually like it. It kind of breaks away from that bold, bright, blank paper. I also did prop this up, the tag, with some fun foam. I chose yellow just once again, I can't justify the things that I do. I think it was just the closest to the color I had. I don't know. I don't know what I do. I don't know why I picked yellow. But it is small, and unless you really tilt the card, you won't really see it. And at least I think it looks pretty with the pink. Maybe that's why I picked it. Anyways, I'm going to ink up all the pieces just so some vintage photo. I do this sometimes, not all the time, just to create some separation, especially if there's a lot of white. It will make it so that everything will separate. Nothing will blend together. And so the sentiment I'm using for this one is life is a journey, best travel together. And of course, using that car die. Really, really cute. And then to finish off, I'm going to use these foam glitter hearts. The glitter is not rough. It's pretty smooth, so it's not flaking off at all. And it just looks really, really sharp on this card. And now I'm going to take some of these little dots that I had in my previous card. I had some left over, and I thought it'd be kind of fun just to stick them around on this card as well. Because the sentiment has blue and the card is pink, well, and the tag is pink, they work really well. And I'm just going to glue these down. Once again, I took forever figuring out where I want to place them, so I cut that all out of the video and just showing you the gluing part now, because no one wants to watch me, even I don't want to watch me, play around with dots for 5 minutes. It's actually funny when I do the replay and I'm watching this, I'm just like, my head in my hands, just like, oh. It's really, really boring. I could not imagine sitting there watching, but so I cut all that stuff out. For card number 8, I'm using this really pretty. Now, I will say normally when I see pattern paper like this, the music paper, I think Christmas, I think caroling. But, you know, I think I pulled it off. I don't know any Valentine songs myself, but I just like how it all worked out. As you can see, there are some more of my hearts that I had created off camera, and now I'm bringing in some of the red ones. What I've done is I've taken some of that pink pattern paper with the polka dots. I glued it to the back of that frame, which was one of the dies. And then I'm going to glue that to a pink matte layer. And this time, instead of using fun foam, I'm using a bunch of scrap paper that I have just to create a very subtle lift off the card. So it's not going to be too thick. I think it was like 3 or 4 layers of cardstock. And now I'm just going to play around with these little ephemera pieces or die cut pieces. Be my Valentine. That's new to me. I'm assuming it means girls getting together for Valentine's. That's what I think. I've never heard the sentiment before until this year. So I'm sorry if I've never heard it before, but I think that's what it kind of sounds like. But it's not a really good word in my opinion. It really sounds like guillotine. So I kind of think maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I hope I'm not offending anyone. It was just an interesting observation, but I chose it because I actually like it. It fit really well with my design. So we'll stick with it, and we'll say Galantine. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry. I did take that little arrow die cut. I thought that was really, really cool. Kind of think of like Cupid, February 14th, Valentine's, all that, and just stuff that between the sentiment and that heart, covering the sentiment that was on the envelope. I didn't really like that one for this card. And I'm just going to place that right on the other corner of the card. Next, I'm just going to start using these heart flowers and just play around and see where they will fit. Once again, just trying to kind of making like a bouquet or a lush garden in the corner there. I did plan to add leaves. I have a whole bunch cut out because every time you cut out, I can't remember, one of the dies, you get a bunch of leaves as well. But I forgot. Anyways, that's okay. I can always add them on later. Next, I decided to grab some of these red sequins. This is not from this kit. This was actually from, which kit was it? It was a different kit. And I just thought it looked really nice with this card instead of using the white ones. You could have used the white sequence, but it definitely would have got lost. You would have to find other places like put it on the pink or papers. And then off camera, I found another bag of sequins from a Scrapping for Less card kit from a couple years ago, and they had some small red ones because I like 2 sizes or 3 sizes. I don't like all the same size with sequins. It just doesn't look right for me. So sometimes I do it just because I don't have a choice, but in this case I did find some other red ones that were very similar. And I just spread them on the card, my typical 3:2 ratio. And that's card number 8. Card number 9, I decided to go very simple, just using up some of the scraps that I had built up building these cards. That's usually how the ending goes, I start using up the scraps. And then I start actually creating some pretty interesting designs because of it. So what I do in this case, as you can see, I'm laying it out, so I'm making sure that I'm going to cover the whole base of the card. This one's not going to show any of the base. I'm going to cover the whole base of the card because it's going to be much easier to do that with this technique that I'm doing. And when I say technique, I don't mean this is what you should do. This is a groundbreaking idea. No, it's just when I say technique, I just mean how I'm going to solve a problem with 3 pieces and create an A2 size shape. What I'm doing is I'm just adding tape to kind of make it so that when I put that next pattern paper down, it's going to fit exactly where I need it, and then I can trim everything off when I'm done. And then I'm just going to keep adding more tape where I covered it so that everything now is going to be taped down securely. You just got to make sure that at least around the outside is taped down enough so it doesn't lift too much. I actually don't mind if my pattern paper lifts on the outside a little bit. I think it's kind of cool. It creates texture, it creates wrinkles and stuff like that. Some people may not like it, but I don't leave too much. I don't want too much to be lifted. Just a little bit is fine. Now that that is all down, I'll trim it and reveal the beautiful design for this card. There we go. That's kind of fun. Once again, it's very similar to that ripped floral paper we did earlier where it's revealing that white and blue. I don't know what that is. Almost looks like tile paper. It's just kind of fun. I was going to put a gold strip between, but I decided to keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to make it look like it's one piece of pattern paper instead of separating it. For my sentiment, I am going to use the one that says I would find you in any lifetime. And I'm going to prop that up with some foam. I did use some vintage photo around all the ephemera except this one because this one already is surrounded in gold and you don't need to add anything more to separate it. I will also add that that circle is not from the die pack. It is actually, if you remember the second card with the shaker, I told you I used a circle die to cut a circle out. That is the piece that I used, and I decided instead of throwing it away, I will use it here to highlight that heart. And I think it looks really fun. It's a nice way, because the circle is not so large, it's a nice way of highlighting something that you want your eye to look at. I want you to see you and me. I want that to be more important than the main sentiment, just because you and me is the important part. And then you can say why. What is you and me? Well, I would find you in a lifetime. And then I'm going to finish it off with a love banner at the top. That's a chipboard sticker. Always glue those down with some liquid glue as well. They will fall off otherwise. And then using some gold circles. For card 10, I decided, okay, I really need to figure out how to use this dog paper. It is really stinking cute, and I need to figure out how to use it. And this is what I came up with, a nice little scene card. And so I'm just going to glue that down, or tape that down to the full A2 size. And I did dry emboss this with some stencil. And then I had this cosmic shimmer stuff, but as you can see in the back, that's what it looks like concentrated, and I didn't like that. Luckily I did it on the back to test it. But when I went to turn it around, my finger still had all that glitter on it, and it was coming off on the paper. So actually, rubbing my finger afterwards on it actually gave it just enough sparkle for my liking. The back of it was too much, but this was perfect. I didn't want it to be overbearing. It just kind of makes it enough to make those stars pop out, because when you dry emboss in black, it does, because you have your shades are very, they hide it very well. So this seems to have illuminated it enough to stand out more. And just using some scrap paper to create that pink banner and the strip on top of it, just to separate this black square from the yellow cardstock. It has no other purpose. It's just creating a pattern. Next, I am going to trim down these dogs so that they lay flat, as if they are standing. Maybe it's a windowsill. That's what it could be. We could think of it like that. They are looking in a windowsill from the inside out. So the outside is the starry night. And I'm going to use some vintage photo around all these little pieces again. And I'm going to prop up the sentiment and put it into the corner. At first I was going to use it as the moon, but then I remembered I had this extra moon piece from one of our card kits when we had all those, so what is it called, astrological one. And so I decided to use that. I think it looks kind of fun. I actually love that moon piece, especially in the gold. So the sentiment I chose is, "You will forever be my always." And have the two little dogs. Of course, the little female dog seems to be more interested, more content than that little beady-eyed dog. It's cute beyond measure, but he just seems out of it. He comes kind of spaced out. I'm just going to glue these down. These stars are also from that same card kit with the moon, and so I decided to use those up as well, just adding some of these stars. In this case, I thought I did 5 stars, but I guess I only did 4 stars this time. But I guess the moon could be my my 5th one. And I'm just going to glue those down. They do need a little bit extra glue just because when you die cut in these gold, it does seem to create a gap between the cardstock. To finish it off, I decided to use this little. I really love this die. I had a hard time die cut. I had a hard time figuring out where to use it, and it just at the very last card, it fit perfectly. I really like that. And that's the last card. I am going to show you my cards this way because I forgot to record me showing all my cards one after another, and I hope this works for you. At least you get a nice, very close view of each card. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed these creations. I hope it has created some inspiration for you. I hope you had some good times, laughs, and I hope that you can spread that on to your friends and family as well. So until the next time, I do hope you have a wonderful day and week, and I'll talk to you guys later in the next video. Take care. Bye.